Alright lads, what's up? You're with Budget Monk, welcome to a new video here. So I've had an issue in the past where I've, struggled to consistently make content here on my channel. And don't get me wrong guys, I'm going to continue to work on what I consider to be like higher quality videos. But with the fact that some of the stuff that I was making, I didn't feel like it was relevant because a new major patch with Leviathan was going to come out. And here I was waiting for Leviathan. And so I kind of scrapped video concepts and so on with the expectation to have content to work with. And now that's been a big disappointment. And I personally don't want to really contribute to the kind of toxicity. Like, it is what it is. It sucked and it's a big disappointment. That's obvious. And I think everybody, including Paradox, realizes that, if you know what I mean. So I would prefer, like, I don't even want to engage on whether it's warranted or not. I just don't care. I want to do my own thing. But the reality is I'm now working on video content, which is sort of regardless of what patch you're on, like some of the basic like EU4 videos and so on, if that makes sense. However, as I have rolled back to the previous patch 1.30, I actually am engaging in a huge mega campaign to keep myself preoccupied. Now, this is something that I've done before in the past. However, long story short, I have come extremely close to actually achieving this, but ended up failing due to a bug, quite frankly. So we have a lot of experience, including hopefully working around that issue, the bug, doing this actual challenge. And I have posted things here and there about this specific challenge, which I'll detail in a moment, on my YouTube channel. But I feel like it's been very abrupt and kind of random for people who have not kept abreast of what I've actually been up to on the day-to-day over on my live stream on Twitch, where the link will be in the description. So this series is going to be targeted at those people who do not have the time to watch me every day. I'm basically laying down the gauntlet here and describing how I am going to attempt and hopefully be successful this time on achieving what, by my understanding, has never been achieved before in this community. And debatably, there's always different angles to this game, like a speed run, for example, or in terms of the time and date, or a speed run in terms of real-time IRL. But something that arguably is one of the harder things the community has done, and it will all be recorded permanently on another YouTube channel, a backup YouTube channel, which is, I have no intention to get views or make money off that channel or anything like that. It's just there as an archive, and it is called a Budget Monk Live Archive. So for any doubters or people who think I cheated in some way or something like that, they can all watch the footage verbatim. It will be posted to Budget Monk Live Archive. And otherwise, I'm going to attempt to make sort of neither, very low quality, but not at the same kind of level, quality and workload. I would like some content that isn't extremely difficult to create as a creator, to kind of, content is king. I want to be active, and I'm going to make update videos basically on this mega campaign, and I hope that some people enjoy that. That's the intention. So today, laying down the gauntlet, I'm going to describe exactly what I'm working on, what we're going to go for in this campaign, what I expect to achieve, and how I'm going to go about doing that. So what is the run? I will begin as the nation of Bohemia, by the way, but I'm on a console command game here to show you guys how I plan to achieve this. The run is a one tag. So there will only be one tag, which of course will be ourselves. On any list, the Great Power list, any list, there will be one tag, which is going to be our tag. And that includes, of course, colonial nations. There will be one tag, one religion, so we'll do a one faith, and one single culture. That includes uncolonized provinces, which actually do not show up on any pie chart or anything like that, but you would be able to see them graphically. We will colonize the entire world. One tag, one faith, one culture, on very hard difficulty, with no exploits at all, and no diplobanking, which is debatably just an exploit, but it's traditionally what is utilized to achieve a one faith. It's to store your points in the conversion manager and then cancel them to hoard over the capacity of points until a later stage in the game, until you have more culture conversion modifiers at a later stage. That's what diplobank is traditionally referred to. That's how it works, and it's traditionally utilized to actually convert the world more effectively. We will not be doing that, or any other exploit for that matter. And that's the run. Now, I have basically spiritually done this twice, where I came right to the brink and I converted everything but one province because it bugged out. We're going to try to work around that as well. So that's not all. We will be doing it as the lost culture of Rome. In other words, a culture that does not exist in the beginning of the game. Now, some people might think that's not any harder than, because let's say we use Saxon, it will convert to Roman. So that's not any harder. Well, that's not true. It is harder, because if I convert this to Saxon right now, and then I form Rome, all of my primary culture provinces, Saxon in this case, or, Czech, will flip to Roman. But the province that is being converted will still be converting to Saxon or Czech. Does that make sense? So you may be surprised as to how irritating that can actually be when you try to create a grand strategy as to how to actually achieve this run, which I'm going to break down here in a moment. That can hinder you. It can be a hiccup, which is very irritating. So I do consider Roman culture, the lost culture, to be more prestigious than any other regular culture. And that's been admitted by other sort of higher tier people in the community. I've seen of their own volition them admit that this would be taken to another level if they were doing their campaign as Roman culture. Regardless, it is a one tag, one faith, one culture on very hard difficulty with no exploits as the lost culture of Rome. So I expect to see Rome everywhere. And just for people who might be wondering, because some of my previous older runs have been as the tag, the Holy Roman Empire, we will in fact be playing ultimately as the Roman Empire this game. So we will be Rome, which will own everything, including the colonial nations, and we will actually ultimately be Hussite, guys. Yes, Hussite. So we're going to take a religion from virtually nowhere to every single corner of this earth, every single province in the game. The ultimate culture, which will be converted to Roman, is going to be the son of Saxon. That will ultimately be the culture which consumes the world. And yeah, that's it, guys. So I'll be streaming that every day, and I'll be doing updates. Now, let's talk about the tactics and approach as to how we're going to do this. So it's quite intensive, a lot to it, and ambitious, and a lot of things might change throughout the course of the run, trying to adapt to certain things that happens. But with that being said, we're beginning as Bohemia, and you might say, okay, you're trying to do the hardest challenge of all time, essentially, just to keep it simple, we'll phrase it that way. Why don't you play a more powerful nation than Bohemia, like the Emperor Austria is more powerful? There is a reason that we're starting as Bohemia, and it's got nothing to do with their starting position, starting strength. It's got everything to do with their ultimate potential. So out of the mission tree, the entire mission tree, Bohemia has this 15% annexation cost reduction, and that is why we're going to be playing as Bohemia. So otherwise, Bohemia is a very strong nation with their missions, and if we go down their missions, they need to integrate Silesia, and basically I'm going to try to be brief, okay guys? You get the ability to PU Hungary once you've taken this entire state, and you actually get the ability to PU Poland once you've integrated Silesia and rivaled him, which obviously is going to hopefully bring Lithuania along with that, so huge amounts of PU. Then you actually have the ability, it's some shenanigans, some stuff that you could do otherwise, but you get the subjugation casus belli against these two nations, not that relevant. You do need to ultimately own all of Hungary, own all of Poland, own this region here, own the Electorate of Saxony, that state, own Brandenburg, and then actually own Vienne. Own Vienne. And you can pass the Bohemian Commonwealth. So it's kind of like owning, you can see here, it's kind of like owning the Polish, all of these guys, and you can pass the Bohemian Commonwealth. 15 annexation cost reduction. Now they've got other interesting missions as well, but that's the really significant one. So the plan is to go down the mission trees, achieve that as quickly as possible. I'm going to be remaining Catholic initially, and the reason is basically it's a pragmatic decision. I want to be elected the Emperor. I also want to avoid the Defender of the Faith. If we went Hussite, we would have to fight the Defender of the Faith, but there's a more complicated reason as well. The Defender of the Faith is very common in this patch, if you guys recall. But we will be doing a tag switch, because it's very, it's the meta of this patch, quite frankly. And, Bohemia is not an in-game tag, so we can tag switch. And the tag switch that I really desperately want to do is actually Austria. So why begin as Austria when you can form Austria, guys, right? So in order to form Austria, they're actually surprisingly easy to form. The hardest variable of forming Austria is that, of course, Austria cannot exist. So that is very stressful, because if he gets the big uninheritance, for example, it's basically game over at that point. It's just going to take decades and decades to kill him. So the method that I'm going to try to utilize to kill Austria is to take these two provinces at some point, release Styria, and that gives you a huge reconquest, considering what it is inside the HRE, high dev, fairly high dev land, Catholic inside the HRE, German, very high AE land here for reconquest. Now, these ones down here, the cores from Styria does not last that long, which can be quite an issue. The reconquest goes away on those. But yeah, that's a huge chunk of Austria there. And otherwise, you can pay Diplo points to release Tyrol. Now, it's a lot. I think it's reduced by unjustified demands. They will reduce the cost. We will be taking influence, 50% unjustified demands, and you also have reduced costs against your rival. So if Austria is a valid rival when we actually press that, releasing Tyrol will hopefully not cost too many Diplo points. But that's a good way to kill them, because all of the things we do, like PU Hungary, PU Poland, is going to be high aggressive expansion. So that is a non-AE way to kill Austria, essentially. And if we take those two, huge reconquest, release Tyrol, who owns all the way out here, and the state, he will be composed of a 3-province minor, where you actually get permanent claims in Austria proper, and we should be able to conquer that as the final blow, where we will be quite powerful. So yeah, in order to form Austria, you need to be primary cultural Austrian, you need to own Vienna, and Austria doesn't need to exist. That's it. I think there might be a requirement to own like at least 4 Austrian provinces or something. But that's it. So quite intriguing. We will be attempting to form Austria. So I will be sabotaging the poor Czech culture and converting it to Austrian. Now, as soon as we are primary culture Austrian and we can form Austria, I will actually, of course, due to our missions, we will have subjects of Saxony and Brandenburg. So I will then be doing a very diplomatic game, right? Because our missions are to integrate this and take Nitra. Everything else is like PU, subjugate. So the intention at that stage is to then integrate these guys, which is going to create a large portion of our states will then be Saxon. So my first idea is going to be religious, which gives culture conversion cost reduction. And I'm hoping that as soon as we're majority Austria by owning this land, sabotaging my own culture a little bit, we're then going to basically spiritually be Saxon. So I will not be primary culture Saxon, but I'll be converting things to Saxon, which will ultimately be the ultimate culture. And I will want it to be the majority culture at some point, right? It's important to take into consideration. So let's go ahead and switch over to Tag Habsburg to look at their missions. So there's a few reasons we want to form Austria, because as Bohemia, we're going to have Hungary, Poland, Lithuania, blah, 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 huge amount of annexation cost, huge amount of things to annex. Well, straight up from Austrian traditions, we get 15%. So with the Bohemian, that's 30% right there. But moreover, if we're the Catholic Emperor, we should be able to pass this one, which is 20 years of 10% annexation. That takes it to 40. And we should also be able to pass, if I can find it, this one, which is basically to have PUs, basically, which is 60% annexation cost reduction. So really, really nice, right, to form Austria, and we, reduce the amount of annexation on these provinces dramatically. That is the intention of forming Austria. So we will remain Austria. There are other reasons as well, because you actually get here, the Scourge of Europe, 2 missionary strength for the whole game. So amazing Austrian switch. We need a 1 faith from nothing, which is incredibly challenging. And that's going to help us a lot, 2 missionary strength for the whole game. But moreover, of course, most of the PUs that Austria gets from their missions will actually already be under us, right? Like Hungary, the iconic ones. But if Austria owns Venice, the Venetian region, you get a restoration of the Union against Milan. So Milan might become a republic, or he might die or something. But just interesting, because he could be strong and powerful. We can PU him. And then you also get a PU Casaspella against Naples. Now, it doesn't say that here because he begins under Aragon, so you don't get a PU of him if he's already PU'd. But he, 9 times out of 10, becomes independent. Same thing, he might change to become a republic or something, but we will then PU Naples. So really nice bonuses to actually PU, and you get permanent claims on Italy. So hopefully, because we'll be such a diplomatic focus, that will PU those guys as well. Austria also has a relation slot. So all of these PUs and relations are lots and lots of relations. So he's got missionary strength built in, relation slot, annexation cost reduction. It's going to be perfect. So that is going to be like the one tag in which we play until much later, sort of what I consider the early late game or the late mid game. We're going to be Austria all the way. Austria is going to go ahead and push into the Middle East like absolute mad, but we're also going to be picking apart Europe. And with that being said, the other tags that I want to form is going to be Savoy, and this is going to be much later. It's actually going to be once we have completed all of our government reforms. So I want to remain small and consolidated and have everything stated up, because your autonomy affects your reform progress, until we have completed our government reforms to where we're just going to explode and mass integrate everything. That's part of the reason we're Austria. Now, if we form Sardinia Piedmont, which is going to be achieved by basically unstating most of our land later on, but hopefully we're going to be so powerful and have trade companies and so on that will still be strong with hardly any states. I guess, can I show you his tag? Savoy. Sardinia Piedmont has Savoy's missions, I believe. They're exactly the same. So there is a mission where that event happens. If you look up the event, the Old Saints of Maurice and Lazarus, that gives you 2 missionary strength for the whole game. Amazing. But this one here, I mean, what can you say? God tier, 5 admin efficiency the whole game. So we'll be switching from Austrian to Sardinia Piedmont, and then they have this one, 10% annexation cost reduction from the whole game. So even when we lose Austrian traditions and so on, we have the Bohemian one and that, which is 25% annexation cost reduction for the whole game. So that's why we're going to do Sardinia Piedmont. We're then going to form Prussia. That shouldn't be much of a surprise to anybody. Now, this is part of the reason we're going to remain Catholic, guys, because we can just actually flip religion in a pinch and form Prussia. Now, you have to be Protestant or Reformed to form Prussia. You can look at their tree from tag Brandenburg, right? Okay. Don't know what his tag name is. Ah, it is Bra. I must have misspelt it or something. So the major one here is the German Confederation 5 admin efficiency. That's now 10 admin efficiency, right? I mean, there's other stuff, but that's the big one. That's why we're going to be forming Prussia, very important. And we're going to be bottlenecked behind. We're not going to be able to flip Hussite religion, our primary religion, until we have formed Prussia. And the reason why is because you can't change religion once you're Hussite. So it's going to be pretty late in the game before we flip Hussite. And Hussite won faith, doing it early enough to convert the world to our culture, because you cannot convert a province which isn't of your religion. You cannot convert the culture of a province when it's not your religion. Doing it early won faith is probably the hardest and most scary variable. So you might say, how dare you suggest that you're going to flip religion so late? Well, I have a lot of experience playing this out, and what has inspired this and the notion that we can do it and we can flip late is that every single time when I try to do like a one faith or a run like this, we always convert everything that I own. So the limitation is not converting stuff that you own. The limitation is converting stuff that you don't own. If that makes sense, there is a point at which you expand faster than you convert. But that point is not until the age of absolutism and until you actually have increased absolutism. I never, ever, ever am in a situation where I haven't converted my entire country. I'm only in a situation where I'm waiting to gobble up more land in order to convert it. And so that's the logic behind... I don't necessarily need to be Hussite, because we will most likely still convert our entire country even though we flip late, and will be limited by taking the rest of the world. And by the way, that's kind of true to the culture scenario as well. This game is about expanding and blowing up as quickly as possible. So we will be Prussia at that stage, guys. And fun fact, if you are the emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, you cannot flip to a different German culture, because we'll be Austrian emperor, right? You cannot flip to a different German culture. Why? Because you have a cultural union from all Germans. So you cannot promote another culture to become your primary culture in order to flip to that primary culture. Does that make sense? You cannot promote it because they're all already that way. So we'll get empire government rank from being the emperor. And when we're Austrian, that means we cannot switch to Saxon. But if we switch to Sardinia-Piedmont, then we can switch to a German, because we now have a union over Italian. Now, it might be more convenient to do Prussia and then Sardinia-Piedmont, right? Considering geographically we most likely own this through PU in Poland, etc. Well, I've got a solution for that, and that's as soon as we change religion to form Prussia, because we need to be Protestant, we will lose the emperorship and therefore lose empire government rank, and therefore I can actually switch to Prussia, to Saxon, which can form Prussia. So all the conversions that we made to Saxon, and Saxon is slightly bigger than Prussian anyway, will not have gone to waste, but I will now be primary Prussian culture, which means if we become an empire, I won't, and we will want to be because of governing capacity, we won't be able to switch back to Saxon, but once we flip to Sardinia-Piedmont, we will, right? So those are the major tags. There is one other major tag, believe it or not, guys, and that is actually Croatia. So if we look at Croatia, and the idea, the dream, is to actually flip to each of these in very quick succession and very rapidly go down their mission trees at a later stage. So we're going to go from Bohemia, complete their missions, to Austria, complete their missions, and remain Austria for a long time until the explosive point to where we unstate everything, which makes it very easy to tag switch, because you can become majority culture very easily by just stating up one or two Prussian culture states, accepting the culture, promoting the culture, and then you unstate that, flip to another culture, etc. So there's one other very significant nation, which is Croatia, and believe it or not, it's quite simple and straightforward as to why it is this. 5 years of separatism until the end of the game. So separatism is something that occurs when you conquer a province and you cannot convert the culture of the province if it has separatism. So particularly towards the end of the game, we will be stacking separatism modifiers to allow the culture conversions to be doable. And sooner after conquering the provinces, and that's 5 years of the 30 total for the entire game from forming Croatia. Now, fun fact, we will have lost we can keep Austrian traditions, but we will have lost the Austrian missions to get annexation cost reduction. Well, considering we have not had the generic ideas, at this stage when we form Croatia, I will get the generic ideas here on the right side. You can see including acquire subjects, which is the basic 15% annexation cost reduction. So if you recall, we have 30%. This means with this one mission, we have 45%. If we keep Austrian traditions, that's another 15, which is 60%. And it's not to mention, of course, by now, because it's the mid-late game, we will have the 25%, and we're going to be taking admin, which gives a policy for 20%. There's a policy with influence for 20%. So we're going to have 90% annexation cost reduction at this key moment, guys, which allows us to gobble up more of our Diplo shenanigans, and there will be Diplo shenanigans. Consume them. That's the intention. Now, finally, we'll be forming, and I say finally, we'll be forming Germany. So I don't know if I can bother looking at Germany. For people who don't know, they have 5 admin efficiency here, and they have 5 admin efficiency from mission trees. So with the 5 from Sardinia, Piedmont, the 5 from Prussia, that's 20 total. In the patch before 1.30, the Emperor update, they reduced during the patch the admin efficiency that you acquire from absolutism by 10%. So that's a massive nerf to absolutism and to admin efficiency. But Germany in of itself actually is the same equivalent, 10%. It gives you 10%, but we will have an additional 10%, which hopefully is going to make up for the fact that there's more development and nations develop like crazy, like Cairo and so on, right? We're going to have 10 additional admin efficiency, and we will be German, and at that stage we will have embraced the proper culture once again, which is going to be Saxon. And the next and final move will be to form Rome, converting Saxon to Roman and being our final tag, where I will not be taking the Roman traditions. We will remain with German traditions. So that's going to be the run. Now, this video is going to go on for absolute ever if I actually disclose as to like all the missions, how I plan to achieve things, what I expect the game to look like. So that's it. I guess that's a pretty decent breakdown. If you guys want to actually see how things go and get a beat of things, stay abreast of what's happening, and see how epic and grandiose this campaign actually is, you can simply just stay tuned and watch the update videos that I'll be posting here periodically. The first one is actually going to go up right before I will be live streaming. So if you see that video, you can come watch me live. And I'll also be, live streaming, so you can watch in real time. And like I said, you can check up Budget Monk Live Archive, where you can see the raw footage also. Pretty crazy stuff, but I'm going to be branding this game, guys, if you guys don't mind, as the greatest game of all time. That is how this is going to be branded, the greatest game of all time, and I hope to gloriously achieve it finally, with everybody this time, at least on my YouTube channel, able to be privy to that, and hopefully to congratulate me and so on. But this is really the magnum opus, guys. This is where all of my experience and everything has accumulated and amounted to, is this point, trying to do something that has basically never been done. People always say, like, oh, so-and-so has done this, so-and-so has done that. They've all exploited and stuff, guys. That's the reality of the situation, okay? I don't want it to be a big ego fest, but I'm trying to do something that essentially hasn't been done, and I hope to do it here over the next sort of month or so, and hopefully once that is done, Leviathan will be in a playable state, but that's doubtful. Thank you very much for watching a mostly ranting video, And I hope you guys are at least aware and privy of that now, so that when we do it, we can all have a big celebration. So thanks for watching. I'll see you live, or I'll see you in the next video.